In the late 1990s, Hollywood was obsessed with the erotic thriller. But while most entries in the genre were content with cheap thrills and predictable endings, one film arrived in 1998 to completely deconstruct the formula. That film was Wild Things. Directed by John McNaughton, the man who shocked the world with the stark, cold realism of Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, Wild Things was a pivot into what critics eventually called neon noir. On the surface, it looked like a glossy, sun-drenched soap opera about a high school guidance counselor accused of a crime by two wealthy students. But underneath that, Florida Tan was a script so labyrinthine and cynical that it made the classic noir films of the 1940s look like children's books. To bring this sleaze chic masterpiece to life, McNaughton assembled an incredible, yet unlikely cast. You had Matt Dillon, the quintessential 80s rebel, Neve Campbell, the reigning scream queen of the decade, Denise Richards, a rising star about to become a household name, and the legendary Bill Murray providing a layer of dry, improvised wit. But the real story of Wild Things happened behind the camera. This was a production defined by strict no-nudity negotiations, liquid courage on set, and a battle against the literal predators of the Florida swamps. The filmmakers weren't just trying to make a movie, they were trying to engineer a puzzle that would keep the audience guessing until the very last frame of the credits. Today, we're peeling back the layers of this 90s cult classic. From the gender parody shower scenes to the hidden Scream Easter eggs, and the technical wizardry of the Waterphone score, these are 12 in-depth facts about the cast, crew, and the twisted production of Wild Things. Before we get to the first twist, we have to talk about the setting. Blue Bay isn't just a location, it's a character. The heat, the humidity, and the sweat on every actor's brow were meticulously planned to make the audience feel as uncomfortable and claustrophobic as the characters themselves. Let's dive into the swamp. Number 1, the engineering of the sevenfold twist. The screenplay by Steven Peters was a hot commodity in Hollywood, specifically because of its structural complexity. Director John McNaughton wanted to push the boundaries of the unreliable narrator. By the time the film reaches its final frame, the audience has witnessed 7 major reversals of fortune. This required a meticulous editing process to ensure that each lie told to the audience was visually supported earlier in the film, making it one of the most mechanically complex thrillers of the decade. Number 2, Bill Murray's improvisational comedy masterclass. Bill Murray was cast as the sleazy, neck brace-wearing attorney Ken Bowden just days before his scenes were scheduled to shoot. He famously refused to stick to the script, viewing the film's heightened melodrama as an opportunity for satire. His dialogue, including his dry observations about the legal system, was largely made up on the fly. The neck brace was a Murray suggestion, intended to visually signal the character's own history of insurance fraud and moral flexibility. Number 3, Kevin Bacon's equality crusade. Kevin Bacon's full frontal shower scene was a calculated professional decision. In an era where female stars were frequently pressured into nudity while their male counterparts remained clothed, Bacon argued for nude parity. He told the producers that if the film was going to be marketed on its provocative nature, he should share that burden. It became one of the first times a male Hollywood lead of his stature had a full frontal scene in a wide-release, R-rated studio thriller. Number 4, the Robert Rodriguez aesthetic consultation. While John McNaughton directed the film, the visual language, saturated blues, deep oranges, and high-contrast shadows was heavily influenced by Robert Rodriguez. McNaughton was a fan of the hyper-saturated look Rodriguez achieved in Desperado. He consulted with Rodriguez's team on how to use specific color filters to make the Florida setting feel like a beautiful swamp, where everything, even the luxury mansions, looked like it was sweating. Number 5, the technical complexity of Neve Campbell's no nudity clause. Neve Campbell was at the height of her Scream and Party of 5 fame and was very protective of her image. Her contract contained a rigorous no nudity clause that required the cinematographer, Jeffrey L. Kimball, to use specific lenses and lighting to hide her modesty. For the infamous pool scene, the crew had to use complex blocking, positioning of actors and objects, and a body double for specific wide shots, ensuring the scandalous nature of the scene was achieved entirely through the illusion of editing. Number 6, the constant threat of alligator interruptions. Filming on location in the Florida Everglades and at the Ransom Everglades School in Coconut Grove brought real-world dangers. The production had to employ a gator squad, local wildlife experts whose sole job was to sweep the water and the tall grass before the actors stepped onto set. During the filming of the final scenes on the boat, real alligators were frequently spotted circling the vessel, which helped the cast maintain a genuine sense of unease during their performances. Number 8, the liquid courage pool scene. The three-way kiss between Matt Dillon, Denise Richards, and Neve Campbell is perhaps the film's most famous sequence. According to cast interviews, the tension on set that day was incredibly high due to the technical precision required for the shot. To break the ice and loosen up, the three stars reportedly shared a bottle of tequila in their trailers before heading to the pool. This liquid courage helped them lean into the uninhibited predatory nature of their characters. 9. Hidden scream and slasher. Nods. Since Neve Campbell was the face of the 90s horror revival, the crew decided to have some fun with her Scream Queen persona. In several scenes set in the Van Ryan mansion, the production designers hid subtle references to the horror genre. This includes a mask that resembles a primitive ghost face and a specific color palette in her bedroom that mirrors the lighting used in the final act of the first Scream movie. Number 10, the water phone and the liquid score. Composer George S. Clinton wanted the music to sound like it was submerged. He utilized a rare instrument called a water phone, a stainless steel resonator bowl with cylindrical necks that vibrates when bowed. This created the metallic, shimmering underwater sound that punctuates the film's transitions. The goal was to make the audience feel the oppressive humidity of Blue Bay through their ears as much as their eyes. Number 11, Matt Dillon's deep dive into guidance counseling. Matt Dillon took his role as Sam Lombardo surprisingly seriously. He spent weeks in Florida high schools, sitting in on guidance counseling sessions and interviewing educators. He found that many of them felt invisible or trapped by the bureaucracy of the school system. He used this feeling of being stuck to justify Sam's moral decline. He played the character as someone so bored with his mundane life that a dangerous conspiracy felt like a welcome escape. Number 12, establishing the explanation credits trend. Wild Things was a pioneer in using the mid-credits sequence as a narrative tool, rather than just a place for outtakes or sequel teases. John McNaughton realized during the edit that the plot was so dense that some viewers might be confused. He created the How They Did It montage during the credits to act as a visual payoff, showing scenes that weren't in the main film to bridge the gaps in the conspiracy. This reward for staying became a template for many thrillers that followed. When the final credits of Wild Things finished rolling in 1998, audiences walked out of theaters feeling like they had just been through a cinematic shell game. The film didn't just subvert expectations, it delighted in mocking them. But looking back, the legacy of Wild Things is about more than just a clever screenplay. It represents a very specific moment in 90s culture, a peak trash noir aesthetic that managed to be both commercially massive and intellectually cynical. Director John McNaughton took the erotic thriller genre, which by the late 90s had become a direct-to-video punchline, and elevated it into a high art puzzle. He proved that you could take a sleazy premise and film it with the technical precision of a Hitchcockian masterpiece. By the time the film reached its seventh and final twist, it had become a commentary on greed, class, and the performative nature of innocence in a media-saturated age. The film's lasting impact can be seen in the way it pioneered the mid-credits reveal. Long before a certain superhero franchise used the space after the movie to set up a universe, Wild Things used it to complete a narrative. It turned the credits into a reward for the observant viewer, a final gotcha that forced the audience to reevaluate everything they had seen over the previous 100 minutes. It was a narrative trick that felt fresh, dangerous, and perfectly suited for the DVD era that was just beginning to take hold. Wild Things remains the ultimate guilty pleasure that doesn't actually require the guilt. It's a film that knows exactly what it is: a humid, double-crossing, sun-drenched trip into the worst parts of the human ego. It's a movie that asks us, in a world where everyone is lying, who is actually holding the cards? So, after seeing the full timeline of the Blue Bay conspiracy, who do you think was the true mastermind? Was it a stroke of luck, or was the ending inevitable? Let us know your theories in the comments. And if you're a fan of these deep dives into the films that defined the 90s, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a script.